If you are a content creator, anyone in the public eye, or in a role that is front facing, especially on the internet, my sole piece of advice will forever be do not read the comments ever. And if you need an example of this, look no further than Jess Hilarious's recent crash out on her Instagram live that proceeded to follow her onto the Breakfast Club. Aloha, beautiful humans. Welcome to my channel. If you are new here, welcome back if we've been locked in. My name is Sasha, and today we're going to be talking about Jess Hilarious, more specifically, her rant against her coworkers on the Breakfast Club and the fact that her valid concern is now going to be missed because of her delivery. Jess Hilarious recently went on a tirade against her coworkers, Charlamagne the God, DJ Envy, and specifically Loren LaRosa, that to me anyways was extremely equal parts shocking, very unprofessional, and disappointing because it should have never made its way onto the air and is genuinely a horrible look for Jess, in part because of the optics. Loren, who seemed to be the main topic of her displaced ire and frustration, Loren handled herself very well, whereas Jess came off as insecure, jealous, and honestly a bully, wanting to remind Loren that the only reason why she is there is because of Jess, and very much so wanting to put her in her place. And it's unfortunate, not just because it is extremely unprofessional and could really negatively impact Jess and everything that she has been working for over the past 8, 9, 10 years. It's unfortunate because there seems to be a very valid concern that will now go unaddressed, or largely go unaddressed, due to her delivery. So there are two parts of the exchange that I found really interesting and I wanted to talk about in this video. So let's roll the clips.
And I can understand some of where you was coming from, but bro, part of that live I thought was crazy. I'm like, what, Jess? Like,
what part did you think was crazy?
What part? Because like, Loren, it is not like you didn't hear anything in that live that I haven't said to you.
I heard a lot that you didn't say to me.
Okay, so what part did I not say to you?
Okay, so the part about the talking over each other and the hush, be quiet, because you talk about how you feel in real time, right?
Yeah.
I'm feeling in real time. That be quiet. That was crazy. The shut up. I was like, oh, okay, because what we really giving up here? Like, what's up?
Okay,
right?
But none of that was said. You didn't say anything about that.
And then when I pulled you into the office with our EP with Eddie, the first thing I said to you was, Jess, we fighting for airtime and it shouldn't be like that. I want to know what can I do better as a producer? What can we do better as the two women sitting right here next to each other to make sure that don't happen, because it doesn't look good. It's not going to play well for either one of us.
I literally swear to God, I don't even remember you saying that.
And that's exactly why I had Eddie in the room, our EP,
I never ever heard that.
Because
you've pulled me to the side a few times to ask me, are you okay? How do you feel like about the stories and things like that? You've never said what you just said to me. Now listen, I have said hush, shut up. Like, yo, you overtalk. And like I said, I'm not about to be up here fighting for no mic. Like, I'm not doing it. If I already got the job, like what am I doing? Like, I'm not. It's four voices. Three of us are very opinionated. You know what I mean? Me, you, and Charlamagne.
I just want to say, Jess, what you feeling, we feel it together. And when the other thing happened that I called you about, I said that to you. But and I responded to that on Twitter. I didn't send it to you. I didn't feel like I had to, but I did. But I called you about it.
The comments. Stop listening to the comments.
Let me talk.
In real life, we love everybody. Y'all love each other. This can work.
It will work. It will work. But sometimes this might have to happen, and it's happening with love. Because when I saw Jess crying, I came in here because I care about you. Have to be okay for all of this to be okay. And I'm a producer at the end of the day. You my talent. We gonna be straight. Because this is East Side High, West Side, whatever high we gonna be, we here and we together, so we got to figure this out. And it's not, everything's not a joke. And I can understand some of where you was coming from, but bro, part of that live I thought was crazy.
I think y'all can work very well together. And once again, you got to stop letting the internet pit y'all against each other. I know the internet has created a narrative, Loren versus Jess versus Loren.
But that's what it is.
And that's what I'm trying to say is the internet is there. We see it. None of us can ignore it. I saw that Corey thing a week ago. We didn't say nothing about it.
But y'all clear up everything else. Nobody want to clear up. But I'm not doing that. I don't like you. I'm hating on a.
They say I'm gay.
So I've been a viewer and a fan of The Breakfast Club for years now, like going on 10, 11 years. And if it's one thing I know to be true about The Breakfast Club, and anyone with any level of discernment can pick up on, it's that Charlamagne the God instigates and baits. And if you're not emotionally intelligent enough, you don't have a lot of self-awareness or a greater goal in mind, you will miss it. And what in part I really hated about watching Jess and Loren kind of battle it out on the air. And I won't even say battle it out on the air, because even though Loren held her own very well, Jess came across as very insecure, a bully, just very bitter and mean. And I hated it. It looked awful because it feeds into this trope that is as tale as old as time. Women thinking that there is only one spot, and now they get on air and they're competing against one another when, like I said, Jess's complaints and frustrations and concerns are very valid, but they're being targeted against Loren, who is the wrong target of her frustration, of her anger. They're getting on air and it's like Jess feels like she is competing for airtime, and even Loren was like, we're not competing against one another. I'm on your team. What are you talking about? We had a conversation about this. Why are you kind of bringing it on to the air? And so Jess anyways is like, I'm not going to get on here and compete with you for airtime. That trope that women can't get along, especially Black women, and they're always fighting against one another. It really sucks. And listening to everything Jess had to say, it seems like she felt that they were trying to force her out and replace her since she went on maternity leave and Loren came to fill her spot. And I've said it before, but I really need to emphasize that the way Loren handled the situation and addressed Jess, with a lot of care, standing her own ground, but not doing so in a way that came off as, I'm going to match your energy and meet you at the rah, rah, rah. Loren came off as very even-keeled, very respectful of Jess, was not cutting her off, was not interrupting her. She handled herself so well, and just watching her and observing her body language and how she addressed the situation. To be perfectly honest, I really don't know a lot about Loren. I kind of checked out of the Breakfast Club when Angela Yee left. What I liked that Angela brought to the show was that you could tell she did a lot of research on the people, on the subjects she was talking about, the people that were coming up to the show. And so when she left, it felt like there was a certain level of, in my personal opinion, professionalism that left the show, along with what I found interesting about the show. Like, yeah, Charlamagne the God is hilarious. DJ Envy, he has his own little quips, and I guess he's a really good DJ. But Angela brought the aspect to the show that I really enjoyed, which was journalism and research. So when she left, I really kind of checked out of the show. I watched a few episodes here and there with Jess, but I didn't watch as many episodes with Loren. Now that Jess is back, it's brought me back to the show. I'm a new fan of Loren's, and I just really, what I love about Loren is what I really enjoyed about Angela Yee. She is well-spoken. You can tell that she does a lot of research. It's not like, you can tell that she brings a certain aspect to the show, a certain level of professionalism. This is a job for her. She takes very seriously, and I really like that about her. So watching her handle the situation, I thought she addressed it very well and handled it very well. But because I don't know a lot about her, just observing her, I was like, I get the feeling that Loren is a corporate baddie or has a journalism degree, like something. Like, she didn't come off of this off of social media. Like, she is educated. I just had that sense about her. So I went and did my Googles, I did my research, and shout out to LinkedIn. I was spot on. She has a degree in marketing, and her resume includes being a producer and a reporter at TMZ, as well as working in PR and script writing. I feel Loren was a breath of fresh air to the show and picked up on where Angela Yee left off in as far as actually researching the topics and subjects of conversations and the interviews, showing up prepared, but also going up vibes when necessary. She's just overall, she's really likable, really good at her job, and was hand selected by Jess Hilarious. Well, according to Jess anyway, she was hand selected when Jess went out on maternity leave. She picked Loren to be her replacement. And I think in part that is obviously the problem. So like I said, Jess's concern is valid. I just think it was handled extremely poorly and professionally. So let's talk about Jess and what her concerns are. When it comes to Jess Hilarious, she may have been introduced to a lot of people, the masses, because of The Breakfast Club. However, I found her back in maybe 2017, 2018, when she was doing her Just the Mess skits and on Instagram. She was one of those Instagram comedians. I really liked her, and while she got into her fair amount of controversy, I think that was just what was happening around the time when you think about that class of Instagram comedians, Pretty V, Baby, DC Young Fly, Call Him Rennie, Lala Milan, Drewski, Jasmine Brown, etc. They were just really hungry. They were really hungry. And her success on social media has translated to real life success, landing her a spot on The Breakfast Club after Angela Yee left. And last year, she went on maternity leave, and Loren LaRosa was selected as a replacement. In her tirade on her Instagram Live and then again on The Breakfast Club, Jess shared that she was surprised that Loren was still there when she returned from her maternity leave. And it was very likely that she was told, or maybe she assumed it. It was honestly unclear to me. I don't know where she got this from, but she said that she thought Loren was a temporary replacement. And while she comes back from maternity leave, Loren is still there, and it is very likely that she now feels her job is at risk and she'll be replaced by Loren. And this is honestly a genuine concern in the sense that while it is illegal to fire someone for being pregnant, studies show that a significant percentage of women experience pregnancy-related discrimination, with some reporting feeling forced to leave their jobs or being dismissed or made redundant. And that was very clear to me in Jess's tirade. She brought up her maternity leave on more than one occasion, and she brought up the fact that she felt like she was being replaced and had no idea what was going on. And this is not exclusive to Jess, and this is the valid concern that I'm talking about, because what Jess is speaking to is a reality for women across the United States of America. There is no federal law that guarantees pregnant workers the right to reasonable accommodations or protections from discrimination in the workplace. Nearly 1 in 4 mothers have considered leaving their jobs due to a lack of reasonable accommodations or fear of discrimination from an employer during a pregnancy. 1 in 5 mothers say they have experienced pregnancy-related discrimination in the workplace. More statistics for you to show how actually horrible this is. 13% of millennial women have experienced pregnancy discrimination compared to 9% of Gen X women and 5% of baby boomer women. And I think the statistics are lower for Gen X and baby boomers just because more millennial women are in the workplace in comparison to boomers and their Gen X counterparts. And this is obviously just due to the advancement in women's rights, as well as we are now living in an economy that just makes it so a lot of people are not able to be sustained off of single income households. So more women are working. Obviously, this goes in hand with the fact that more millennial women are likely to be more educated and are trying to get jobs in specific fields for the education that they have sought. So more statistics, 21% of mothers say that they have been scared to tell their employers about their pregnancies due to fear of discrimination or retaliation. I want us to give Jess the benefit of the doubt, because while her delivery was terrible and extremely unprofessional, and the way she handled the situation was just honestly awful, she has a valid point and her concerns are valid. I want y'all to think about this for a second. Jess joined the Breakfast Club in 2024, early last year, and mere months later announced her pregnancy. Then she went on maternity leave. And Jess said something that many women know all too well, especially women in the industry that she is in, the music industry, and not just the music industry, just a lot of industry in general. But I think that we see it in the music industry because these artists or personalities are so front facing. They're in the public eye. And she just said it herself. There is no right time to get pregnant. And I often think about one of my favorite Lauryn Hill songs, To Zion. And in part, what makes that song so powerful to me is not just her vocals, but the subject matter of the song. She candidly speaks about getting pregnant at the height of her career. Now, I won't even say at the height of her career, when her career was honestly just starting and she's getting all of this acclaim. She gets pregnant and people are encouraging her to, use her head and look at her career. People encouraging her to essentially send this baby back to Jesus. But instead, she says in the song, she chose to use her heart and have her son, and that song is just it is one of my favorite songs of all times, especially one of my favorite Lauryn Hill songs, because it speaks to something so many women know all too well, not just women in the music industry, but women in a lot of professions, which are very unforgiving to mothers. It is so hard for women nowadays to be mothers and to work and to have careers. Something is always going to take a hit. We expect women to work like they don't have children and also mother like they don't have jobs. It's a really hard balance. It's so hard for women nowadays being mothers, and it shows just how unequal and unaccommodating we are to women and mothers. And this is in all industries. But given that Jess is in an industry where the shelf life is so short and you have to constantly be in front of people's faces to stay relevant, it's even harder. And I think we need to give her grace for that, because while her delivery may have been terrible, what she's saying isn't wrong. It's just that Loren is not the subject or the target of her frustration. It was misdirected, and it should be with her management, with her producers, with HR. Loren should not be on the receiving end of all of this vitriol Jess has and all of her feelings. The music industry and the entertainment industry is a male dominated space, like so many other industries, and there's not a lot of room for women in these spaces. Women are consistently pit against one another in a way men aren't, and that tension is often instigated by the men in these spaces, which is in part what I addressed earlier. Charlemagne the God is an instigator and a baiter, and DJ Envy is a follower. They both play into it, and Jess took the bait, something that Angela Yee never did. And you saw this and you know this if you watch The Breakfast Club when Angela Yee was on the show. They left her high and dry so many times. And there were times where you could see the tension in the room, but Angela Yee never handled it the way Jess did. And I think in part it is because Jess got her start on social media, and people who get their start on social media and haven't had a fair amount of media training or haven't realized that corporate America and corporate environments don't work the same way social media does. You are actually held accountable to people in the corporate space. You do have bosses. So the comment section are not your boss. You have to learn how to move differently. And so I don't think Jess has learned that just yet, but she is still growing. And something Charlemagne the God, even though he is an instigator and even though he is a baiter, something he was correct about was telling Jess not to read the comments. And like I said earlier, if you are in any public facing job, that is rule number one. If you are an influencer, if you are a content creator, if you are a social media personality, if you are a public figure, do not read the comments. The thing is, that's going to be so hard for Jess. And it's going to be hard for Jess because, as I mentioned before, she got her start from social media and likely needs validation as a result of it. When you are a creator, engaging with your audience is part of that job, and that engagement comes in the form of reading and responding to the comments. But at a certain point, you need to fine-tune your approach in how you respond to comments. I firmly believe we were never, ever, 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 ever meant to know how millions of people feel about us at any given time. And this is something I am so passionate about, and I've spoken about it before because I have been on the receiving end of this, not only as a content creator, but as someone who is in the fitness industry, where I found myself on the receiving end of caustic and scathing criticisms from strangers about everything from things to my body to my race and just people not liking me. There are even times here on YouTube where people will leave comments that are just completely out of left field. And more than anything, it doesn't hurt me. I find it extremely annoying because it's like, I worked hard on this video. I worked hard on this piece of content. Can you at least watch it in its entirety before leaving a silly comment that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about or misrepresents what I'm trying to say, or what I am not even trying to say, but what I clearly and explicitly stated in the video? Like, what? It is so frustrating, and it's really hard because you do want to clap back, especially at those those comments or those pieces of criticism that really get to you or trigger something in you. It is so hard not to respond back to these people, but you really have to develop an extremely strong sense of self and not allow people to bait you. And in part, people leave those comments to provoke and make you feel really low about yourself because they feel low about themselves. And that's what I've learned, not only in the fitness industry, but being a content creator and someone who has shown up on social media, someone who consistently shows up on these streets. What I have learned is you have to remember who you are, whose you are, what you are and what you're working for, because you always have something to lose, and what you have to lose should be bigger than whatever you would gain by clapping back at people who are not worth your time, not worth your energy, and honestly probably bots. Always consider the source. That is what I will say. Consider the source. And I came across this video and wanted to share it because it beautifully sums up how I feel about people's opinions, especially on the internet, when you're being left vitriol, abuse, and just unsolicited, unbridled hate for no reason. Because while I do think that Jess could get better at her job, there are sometimes I read the comments that people will leave about her under the Breakfast Club's YouTube video or just on their social media, and people are just really vile and just hateful for no reason. And so if you are someone who is a content creator, an influencer, or someone who shows up on social media in any capacity, or you have a public front facing job, I hope this video helps you. Well, the video that I'm leaving obviously now, like this YouTube video and Jess's example, but also the video I'm about to share, because it is so true. Like, just watch it. Just watch it. Just watch it. It's so good.
I have been getting this question so much lately from people who want to be creators, but they're getting really down from the hate comments. So I'm going to give y'all some framing that is probably the opposite of what you have heard previously. And then I'm going to give y'all some tough love because I think we need it, but I think it'll help. One thing I had to come to accept is that there are reasons people are not going to like me, and they are correct. Right? Because growing up, we were always told, oh, if that person doesn't like you, they're jealous of you, etc. No, there's plenty of reasons not to like me, right? I'm very full of myself. I'm very impatient. If we've ever been at a restaurant together and you haven't been ready to give your drink order when the waiter came around for it, just know I have actively wished harm upon you, right? There are actual valid reasons to not like me. And when you're able to accept that and remove the ego response from every negative opinion about you, it helps lessen the blow when you get the really crazy people, which is what we'll talk about next. So the mantra of one of my favorite journalism teachers in college was consider the source. He said it about everything. If your own mother says she loves you, consider the source, check the source, meaning the source of the information you are receiving is just as, if not more than important than the information itself. Someone's leaving you a crazy comment, consider the source. Look at them. They're ugly. Ew, why are you listening to ugly people? Ugly people should not be seen nor heard. They're ugly, they're not cute, they're not aspirational, they're not creative, they don't move through the world the way you do. They don't have the things that you want. Oh, Cody from Wisconsin with the yellow teeth and weak ankles thinks I'm not funny. Whatever will I do except move on immediately, because who the fuck cares about Cody? Not his own mother, that's why his teeth look like that. Oh, you're paying mine to an anonymous account? They live a nutless existence and they are not the main character in their own life. Why are you making them the main character in yours? What? Imagine fast forwarding and you're a grandma, if the world is still around, of course, and you're talking to your grandkids about a dream that you wish you had pursued, and they're like, oh, grandma, well, why didn't you pursue it? Oh, well, a man was mean to me on the internet one day. Oh, well, where is that man now? I don't know. Do you hear how crazy that sounds? That should sound absolutely crazy to you. Truly, if you are willing to succumb to the throes of the internet and every which whim it may hurl your way, you are just as crazy as the person commenting. Who the fuck cares? Who cares? They're nothing. Ew. Keep it moving.
So wrapping this up, because I didn't want it to get too long, I promise someday I will be able to do 15 to 20 minute long videos. I just have a lot of thoughts, feelings, and opinions, and I'm not going to come here and drop filler videos just to run up my subscriber count and viewing hours and everything like that. If I'm sharing something, it's because I'm passionate about it, and so I want to fully research it and talk about it. One day I will get to 15 to 20 minute videos. Today will not be that day. But in closing, I just hope that Jess finds her footing and works things out with Loren and her coworkers, because it's not their jobs to defend her against trolls. But at the same time, they shouldn't be antagonizing her. Charlemagne the God particularly should not be antagonizing her or pitting her and Loren against one another. I've watched him do this before and I just really didn't like it. And every time it happens, it's like Loren is very sharp, and it's likely because she is from a corporate background. She does have a degree. She's coming from a different place than Jess, and it's not better, it's not worse, it's just different, and it has prepared her to be in these spaces and handle that platform better than Jess. So I really hope that she works on her media training, and I hope that she grows from this and learns from this, because it is not on them to defend her, but she has, and I'm not even saying she has to develop a thicker skin, but what I am saying is that she has to learn how to move in these environments. And just because Instagram and social media is her comfort zone does not mean she should be going on Instagram or social media to air out concerns about her corporate job when HR exists. And Loren said that they did have a meeting with HR or with their producers. So if they had a meeting, it should have never made it to the air. I'm not saying that Jess can't voice her frustrations, but girl, like, you don't got a group chat? Like, you have so much to lose now. And when you have something to lose, you have to move differently. And that's what I want Jess to remember, because I really hope that this doesn't cost her this opportunity when her contract ends, but it very well could. And you just have to, move differently. You cannot make permanent decisions or allow permanent decisions to be made for you based off of temporary emotions. So they had that meeting. It should have never made it to the air. And I really hope this doesn't work against her, because while her concerns are valid, there is a chance they will now be ignored. And in a lot of the commentary on social media that I have seen, nobody is bringing up her very valid concerns surrounding maternity leave and pregnancy. She brought it up in her tirade, but nobody is addressing that because it's easier to focus on the mess. And I guess that tracks when your name is just the mess, you know? But anyways, yeah, there is a chance that her concerns will now be ignored because of how she reacted. And that's really annoying, in part because people will ignore the cause and instead focus on the effect and the reaction, which is truly so annoying and goes to show how short-sighted and reactionary people are. But we move, that's life. What we should all get from this, and what I hope people take away from this, is the fact that mothers are not protected in this country. And in a time where there are consistent attacks against women and our rights and our reproductive rights, in a time where, despite the fact that we call ourselves a first world country, a developed country, there are still mothers who are dying in childbirth, and that is even worse for Black women. We as a country, the conditions for women are getting worse. And there are many women out there who likely heard Jess, what she was trying to say, and are feeling exactly how she feels. And they're wondering about their employment post-maternity leave. That is, if they even have a job to come back to, since there are zero federal protections for pregnant women in the workplace. And with DEI being rolled back, like, it's hard out here. And it's only getting harder for women and worse. So time will tell what will come from this. But if you are a content creator or anyone in a public facing role, stop reading the comments. Drop down in the comments and let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Like the video, subscribe. What are you waiting for? You made it this far. You might as well subscribe. But anyways, don't forget to like, subscribe, and until next time, peace out.